guess the reason why you guys kind of came out with Preceon is to manage some of the weather issues, right? How would you say that farmers are traditionally managing it before you guys decided to come out with the Preceon?
Yeah, so like I said, every farmer has a system to growing corn, and they're trying to protect against risks, right? Weather risks that can cause green snap and lodging, risk of getting the nutrients on in time or not getting them on in time, managing the weeds, etc., managing the diseases, right? So they're all building a system to manage that within tall. So that, like I said, that can change. You can make changes to that system with the short-statured hybrids in the Preceon Smart Corn System. So that's where we get to, the benefits of Preceon are really around first of all, the protection against the lodging and the green snap that exists with Mother Nature and growing tall corn, the accessibility that the technology offers throughout the season. So now you can get your traditional ground rig sprayer across the field, across pretty well the whole season. And then likewise, the yield potential that it gives you because of the different aspects of pushing population, managing density, managing fertility to a higher level, you can get to I think a better outcome to try to reach those 300 bushel yields and more.
And I think too that, like Scott was talking about, farming is on our farm and then on the farms that I get the chance to work on the Cameron's farm, it's just about risk mitigation. It doesn't matter whether you're marketing grain or you're growing crops or just the whole process, it's all about mitigating risk. And Preceon's just another way to mitigate risk, whether it's wind, getting nutrients out there when you need them, when that plant needs it. Farming, to me, to Scott's note, is just, on our farm and on Cameron's farm, it's just risk mitigation. And Preceon's just another way to mitigate that risk, whether you're, at this point, a lot of people see the benefit in mitigating risk when it comes to wind, because in Eastern Iowa, we've faced a lot of wind issues with the derecho in 2020 and some other things that we've had. But mitigating risk also comes in the form of getting fertilizer out there when you need it, when nitrogen utilization is going to be at its highest. And that corn plant, you're really just trying to manage a crop differently and make it more likely that you're not going to have issues along the way. And Preceon, and in tandem with Climate, is a good way to manage that risk.
One thing that's really easy for us to be excited about it, we went through the derecho in 2020.
I was just going to ask about that. I was like, we've all been there,
Yeah, everybody's been through probably a wind event at some point. I mean, we had a old corn reel hanging on the wall in the shed, and it was on there all year long. Mm-hmm. Put an extra, so you talked about the yield factor, we want to guarantee or save our yield and take that risk away. But there's so much more than that when you start dealing with down corn.
Oh yeah, it's devastating to see all of your hard work just.
Yeah, and then we put an extra 100 hours on the combine that year, and you're pulling in all these plants and all this dirt, which is abrasive. So we wore out all kinds of stuff on our combine and corn head. We had I think we had 7 leaks on our grain legs that year that we had to fix during the season because the dirt is abrasive and you're pulling dirt in and kept going through. And there's a lot more value than just yield.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, the lodging and the green snap. I mean, would you guys like to speak a little bit more to those types of traits?
Well, it's one of the key benefits of the short corn, and it will not eliminate lodging and green snap, but it reduces it substantially. We've had this technology out in the derecho areas, and it stood up to a large portion of it. I think well over 75 mile an hour sustained winds. It did well.
We saw some pictures of fields that got some pretty hefty winds this year, and you could see the tall corn on the side and the Preceon short corn in the middle, and you could see on the image the difference.
Yeah, those went from 50-60% green snap and lodging to 3 to 15 on some of them.
I will say on the down corn note, when I'm going around talking to people who in Eastern Iowa, largely everyone's experienced down corn in some fashion, especially because of 2020 and the derecho. And we're talking about short corn. And what's your hope? What's your hope, Avery? What are you hoping to get out of this? And I'm hoping to break a yield barrier too, but I would like to rarely, if never, have to walk down corn again because of not only the financial impact, but the emotional impact of what you put into that crop every year. It's not cheap what you're doing out there. That's your livelihood laying out in that field. You're reliant on what the weather does that year. So if we can keep that crop standing and I don't have to walk out to another field of somebody that had corn go down, It's a very good day as a field sales representative for Bayer.
How would you follow up with that?
The derecho definitely it took a toll. It was, yeah, not fun driving around that night looking at everything that was flat. The stuff stood back up a little bit, but it definitely has taken some risk in that side of it out, you know.
Yeah, it's one of those things you're like, oh, that could never happen to me.
Every year you're going to have, I mean, we're sitting as a farmer and as a representative for Bayer, every summer there's going to be wind somewhere. Every fall there's going to be wind somewhere. And you're watching the radar when it's coming across the state of Iowa and you're like, oh, please God, no wind in my area, please no wind in my area. And if there's no extreme wind that comes with it or 100+ mile-an-hour winds, I'm going to sleep a lot better at night knowing that the next day I'm not going to wake up and be like, how much of this corn has fallen down? So that's a big deal.
We just went through advancement deployment of our new hybrids for 2020, what would be the 2025 season, right? We just went through that advancement deployment just last week. And I think of the number of hybrids that yielded really well, but the green snap was a 6 rating. And that's not a risk that we're willing to tolerate in the marketplace because we know our customers won't. So the short-statured corn trait has the ability to unlock genetics that we're not able to bring to market today because we don't feel they're commercially acceptable. Again, it's all about risk management, right? How do we bring and offer tools to farmers like yourself, Cameron, to manage risk and increase yield? And I think the Preceon Smart Corn System is a perfect example of that.
Yeah, I do too.